Oh, every once in a while I get somebody like that. We're still waiting for some, like Image United. Yeah. They're still waiting for Image United to finish up. And I keep telling them, look, it's not coming. It's not happening. You're not going to see it. You want to see it? Send Todd McFarlane a letter. Right. Okay, he's the reason it never showed up.
It's not coming.
And, usually it's a Todd McFarlane fan that asks me that too. Oh, where's it at? Because Todd couldn't finish it.
Yeah, Todd couldn't finish it.
Oh, you got the current spawn? Yeah, I got the current.
Yeah, I got the right.
Rest assured that I was on the internet within minutes, registering my disgust throughout the world.
What have you done? Nothing. Nothing except read comic books. You also lose our jobs on account of comic books. You keep me awake every night with your bad dreams on account of comic books.
I don't know what the hell you're gibbering about.
Oh, you should put that speech on tape.
He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
Hello, Chicago, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Gotta drink to that.
Welcome to Alternate Reality.
Most of his life. His mom and he's the last of 7 brothers and sisters. They all died before him. His mom passed away 2002, I think 2003. He looked after himself after that with the help of a niece and her husband. They would check on him every couple of days, make sure he had enough food. They'd do grocery runs. They'd make sure the heat was on in the winter, the air conditioning, I assume air conditioning was on in the summer, that he was doing okay, the toilets weren't clogged up or anything like that. And the rest of the time, though, he was alone. I mean, he'd get himself up in the morning, he'd get himself dressed in the morning, he'd ride his bike all day long on his own. He'd come home by himself. He'd lock the door by himself. He was responsible a lot more for himself than I would have given him credit for up until I found out all that. I am sure that the niece and the husband feel like they've had a weight lifted off them, but, you can tell that they were just as broken up about his passing as anyone else. I assumed that he would have been hit by a car riding his bike around.
Yeah, he wasn't paying attention to traffic.
No, he died of a perforated ulcer. He went in a couple of months ago to the hospital because he wasn't feeling good. They diagnosed him, and they said he's got a perforated ulcer, which is easy enough to fix. Cut you open, sew it up, close you up. Take care of it. Don't do anything strenuous. But, because he was mentally handicapped, he wouldn't let them put a hose up his nose. He wouldn't let them put a hose down his throat. Didn't want them to cut him open. Fought it and literally kicked and screamed when they tried to do it. And he's an adult. Can't
force someone to have surgery.
No, you can't force someone who's an adult who isn't a ward of the court or who doesn't have, who is incompetent and has to have adult supervision, who's deemed incompetent and needs adult supervision. You can't force them to do anything. And if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do it. And so after 7 days, I said, we can't hold you anymore. We got to let you go. And so they did. And, they told him, look, here's the deal. You've got a perforated ulcer. It needs to be taken care of. It doesn't take care of. It's going to keep leaking into your system, and you're not going to survive it. And, yeah. And 2 months later, boom. That's what happened. The niece found him in his house. She'd go in for a checkup, to see how he's doing, and he was laying on the floor. He'd been there about 24 hours, but he was fully awake, but
couldn't move.
He couldn't move because it hurt too much. And she called an ambulance. They took him to the hospital, and that was on a Wednesday. He died the next day. And because of a perforated ulcer, he didn't get it taken care of. It would have been easy, and like I said, it would have been easy enough to fix. But that's Bikeman Bill. Bikeman Bill Vogler. He was 67 years old when he passed, which surprised me. I didn't think he was that old. I thought he was younger than that, although it was always hard to peg his age. He's been coming into the store for 20 years, and I could never really peg his age. It was just beyond my ken to figure out how old he was. I mean, I knew somewhere between 30 and 70, but as to what his age was, 67 surprised me. And, not to get into a lot of BS about, well, he lived a good long life and blah, blah, blah. I mean, for all of everything he had going against him, yeah, he led a good long life, and he led a life of hardship that he probably shouldn't have had to put up with. He put up with a lot of crap from kids in the neighborhood. I mean, a lot of crap. I mean, there were literally days where he would come in and he'd be angry, which was odd for him, but he'd be angry and talk about how Mount Greenwood was hell. At the level he was working at, he really meant that. It was hell on earth for him. And he didn't know what his sins he had committed, to have to go through all this. But he was always working on a third grade, fourth grade level, just because of the handicaps he had. Bill would try my patience many times, but I always tried to treat him with the respect that he deserved, even though he would come in and talk about the same narrow selection of topics for 20 years. I mean, if it wasn't the Three Stooges, it was Dark Shadows. If it wasn't Dark Shadows or Universal Monsters, if it wasn't Universal Monsters or Dark Shadows or Three Stooges, there was nothing much else to talk about. So we'd go back to the Three Stooges again.
Nuclear fusion?
Or, some action figure or some model kit that he wanted that he was never going to buy because he never had the money for it. But he'd always be asking me how much it was. And if I had finally sold out of it after 3 years of looking at it, when am I going to get some more in? And, those things can be trying after a while. But I always tried to think, there but for the grace of God go I. I mean, his life could have just as easily been any one of ours, depending on birth defects and how much kids give you crap growing up and continue to give you crap when you're an adult. It could have been any one of us. So I always tried to cut him slack for that. And Sarah did too. She had her own set of problems with him. She works over at Walgreens too, so she'd see him over there also. So he'd come in here, he'd come over to Walgreens. He knew her at both places, and he could be just as trying over there as he was over here. But again, you have to make allowances for his condition.
What was he buying over there?
He lived on a diet of strawberry ice cream, Miller High Light, and a third thing, I forget what it was, but that was the only thing he ever bought over there.
Twinkies.
Well, now, like I said, the niece would come in and bring him food, and the niece's husband would come in and bring him food, so it's not like he didn't eat. And I'm sure that they probably would make him some stuff when they were over there. But the rest of the food, I assume, would be stuff like lunch meat and bread, simple stuff that you make sandwiches out of. Anybody can make a sandwich out of. Nothing that would require a stove. But when he would go over to Walgreens, it was Miller High Life, strawberry ice cream, and something else. It was a third thing. I can't remember what it was. But that's all he ever bought. So why did he have a perforated ulcer? Well, Miller High Life and strawberry ice cream might have something to do.
I wouldn't drink that crap.
A steady diet of that.
I wouldn't drink that.
Well, you weren't him. No, you wouldn't. But you know what? At the level he was working at, he was happy with that. And for as much crap as he went through, whatever makes you happy, do it. As long as you're not going to get arrested for it. But, do it. Now, what about you, sweetheart? How was your day?
Long.
Oh, why was it long?
I just had a bunch of stuff to do.
Okay.
I was up till like 5 in the morning.
Doing what?
Someone I know called me. She couldn't fall asleep, and we talked for like 2 hours because she couldn't fall asleep. I'm like, okay, you can't fall asleep, but I would try to sleep, but I'll talk to you until you can fall asleep. And she fell asleep. That's why you guys is at 3 in the morning.
What about you, dear?
I was up at 3 in the morning.
Why?
I have no idea.
To do what?
Bathroom run?
No.
You just wake up?
You just wake up, sit down going, why
you know
not?
what it is? Ever since I got rid of my cable box and stuck with that stupid Xfinity thing, it doesn't have a clock on it.
Yeah, there's no clock on this.
And I'm a clock freak.
Yeah, there's no clock.
And I get up in the middle of the night and I look at it. So I'm flipping the TV on, and I done seen so many damn episodes of 77 Sunset Strip. It's ridiculous.
Who the hell's running 77 Sunset Strip?
What's the channel? Me TV. Yeah,
one of those, not Heroes and Icons.
What? No, I call it the rerun station because it's 3 stations like that number rerun, and I think it's Me TV.
Okay.
Because after Alfred Hitchcock, I was like, okay, I gotta go to sleep. Next thing I know, I wake up 77 Sunset. I was like, oh my god! And it's been like for months.
So you see, when I'm up late and laying in bed, I've got an antenna on the roof. So what I'm getting is literally TV off the antenna through the analog box or digital box or whatever it was that everybody had to hook up a couple of years ago. I get antenna TV up in my room that I can watch at night, but I can't watch it in the front room on my $80 a month direct TV.
Oh my God.
It just pisses me off.
That's why I have Xfinity.
Or Decade. I get Decade. It's on channel 2.
Yeah,
channel 2.1 or 2.2.
Yeah.
So lots of times I'll sit there and I'll watch Decade, which is either running Dick Cavett. Well, if I had a choice between Cavett and Carson's on Antenna TV, I'll watch Carson. Cavett is just insufferable. Some of the guests on there he has, he had a show the other night. It was like 68 or 69. Mort Saul was on, who was a miserable comic in 68. He never got any better. But he also had on there Jane Fonda, Peter Fonda, and Henry Fonda. All on the same show.
The Fonda family.
Yeah, the Fonda family. All three of them. And you know what? I got to watch the Fonda family.
Oh, man.
No matter how insufferable Mort Saul is or how insufferable DeCavett is, you've got the Fondas on there, all three of them.
Oh,
two of which are gone, only one of which is left. And Henry Fonda, I'd watch anything Henry Fonda was on, where he's talking about movies and stuff. He had just gotten done filming Cheyenne Social Club.
Okay.
So wherever that falls at on the calendar, that's when that episode was from. So, but yeah, I'll watch that. Heroes and Icons, so if it's during the Star Trek run, otherwise they run Xena after that, which is just hard to watch. It was hard to watch when it was first on.
That is Hercules.
Well, they run Hercules too. I used to watch Cozy when they ran the Avengers late night.
That's the only
Steve and Peel Avengers. Now they just run garbage.
Oh.
If the weather is wrong, I can't get any of the Channel 11s in. I got 4 channels for Channel 11, one of which is a kids channel. But there's 4 channels, none of which come in if the weather is wrong. And
so
I'm
if the
not
wind
quite.
Blows in,
no, if there's a storm front moving in, or if there's a high pressure system moving in, forget it. It doesn't work. But every other night, every third night, fourth night, it'll work. So I'll watch some of that. Well, we're 12 minutes in when we start the show. Hey, folks, it's Comic Book Man here.
You have to cut all that out.
Welcome to the Alternate Reality. We're coming to you from, as always, Alternate Reality, the comic book store, located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie in beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. Alternate Reality, where all new comics are always 15% off every day for everyone. I'm being joined in this episode by the dynamic duo themselves, the two stalwarts, the pros from Dover.
Bluntman and Chronic.
Rod Flash.
Who's Chronic?
You.
I guess I'm Chronic.
Say hello, Rod Flash.
Hello, Rod Flash.
Good job. And the man himself, the man with all the news, the man who thinks he's the smartest man on the internet, and he's really the biggest dump.
That's not true.
The one and only Bocepheus. Say hello to everyone, Bo.
Hello, kids.
As always, our news consists of comic book news, media news, wrestling news, and nothing else. We only cover the important stuff. And DC is first. Geoff Johns DC plans. Oh, what are Geoff Johns DC plans?
Geoff Johns is everywhere. Well, you know when they did the Black Label books, he said these books aren't continuity? Geoff Johns goes, the 3 Jokers thing I'm doing?
The ones I'm doing are.
It is continuity. I don't give a crap what you guys say. It's continuity. So it's continuity as far as he's concerned. We already know the Shazam book's coming out finally in November. Dale Eaglesham's drawing it. Okay, what are your prospects in the thing? You think it's going to sell?
The Shazam book?
Yeah.
It has a chance of selling. It sort of depends. This is the same Shazam that he introduced in the New 52, right?
Yeah.
It's the same one. They're just finally getting around to the book.
Yeah.
What is it, 7 years later now?
Yeah.
6 years later?
The man's a little busy.
Look, it's either DC's going to do a Shazam book or they're not. Thank God they have a movie coming out, so it made the decision for him.
Yeah,
yes, we'll make it a Shazam book. We have a movie coming out.
The movie's coming.
Will it sell? I don't know. I mean, Dale Eaglesham's a good artist, and Geoff Johns is a good writer, depending on how long he's going to be writing the damn thing. There's every chance in the world of selling. It depends on what they do with it. I know that when he redid Shazam as a Justice League backup story, a lot of people were bitching that Billy Batson was too much of a snarky kid. He was too snotty. He was too much of a jerk. Billy Batson's not supposed to be that much of a jerk. And of course, a lot of people bitching about the hoodie that Shazam has.
Hoodie, man.
Yeah, but you know what? If it's a book that sticks to what the character is,
yes,
and doesn't go and negate any of the backstory to the character, and I'm talking also about the run it had in the 90s and early 2000s with the artist. Who's the artist? Jerry Ordway. And who wrote that thing?
I think did Ordway write most of those?
Yeah, Ordway. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Ordway.
They gave him the character.
Ordway wrote and drew those.
Yeah.
Those sold okay. I mean, they didn't sell great, but they sold okay. They sold like flash numbers, which is okay for like 50 issues or so, and then it started to wobble and But I have great hopes for it. I'd like to see Shazam. Shazam's one of the 4 original characters in the comic book pantheon. I'd love to see a Shazam book every month. There's no reason why there shouldn't be, despite what Dan DiDio thinks about the character.
Yeah, well, what does Dan know?
Well, Dan should realize that it's one of your many characters.
Yeah, you've got multiple characters. You can play about this one, really.
And the character has quite a longevity to it.
It has a history.
It has quite a history to it, and if if anybody deserves a book with that much of a longevity, it's Captain Marvel. Well, Shazam. We can't call him Captain
Shazam!
I'm looking forward to when the movie comes out, and in the movie they call him Captain Marvel, and then the Marvel movie comes out, and everybody gets all confused.
Hey, wait a minute, which one's which?
That's not going to happen.
Well, one's female and one's male.
Happen.
No, well,
that's not going to happen.
How could DC have a Captain Marvel and Marvel have a DC doing stealing it from Marvel?
Yeah. Well, the different tone will help. The Shazam movie is basically a kid's movie.
Why is it so hard to do a character about a boy who basically becomes a superhero?
Because people have narrow minds.
That answers that question.
Yeah, see.
Well, part of the problem is the character was written a certain way for a certain time.
Yeah.
And updating that character is hard to do in this time. You know, during the 40s, it was much more.
You could be.
I don't want to say more innocent time.
You could be lighthearted as hell back then, but now people go, "That's a little boring."
Well, the thing you keep in mind is Shazam in the 40s outsold Superman, which is the reason why they triggered the lawsuit in the first place. DC looked at that and said, "Hey, you ripped off our character. We're taking you to court." If it hadn't outsold Superman, they probably wouldn't have done anything.
They wouldn't have said.
You know, but as soon as you start outselling Superman, you're going to court. And it dragged on till 54, at which point Fawcett said, well, okay, we're not selling any more copies of this thing. Nobody cares about it anymore, and we just got sued within an inch of our life. Screw it. We're not going to do them anymore.
We're done.
And that was the end of it. And Superman continued on.
Now back to Geoff Johns. His Killing Zone books will be a bunch of different stories that take place in the era from the 1940s to the 2040s. This is a
1940s to when?
2040. This is a century-long story. This thing will start in May, and Killing Zone, he says, will have a TV and film component. So he's going to do some TV stuff because he produces TV anyway. So Johns will do some stuff that goes to TV and movies.
Oh, so it's Geoff Johns' revenge.
It's Geoff Johns basically going, okay, you demoted me. I'm over here on my own. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and my contract says you have to leave me alone because here's another company down the street over there that I can go to right away.
Well,
is there a mouse at that company?
Yeah, there's a mouse at that
What's
company.
going to be in the Killing Zone anyway?
Well, he hasn't said yet because it doesn't pop up until May. There's a couple big conventions in October. He may start releasing information by then. But you're talking about really, really obscure minor league DC characters that no one gave a crap about. And some new characters introducing. So Johnson, these are characters he's never written before, ever.
So this isn't going to be like Booster Gold level. It's going to be more obscure than Booster Gold.
It'll be so if you go through
the Red Bee.
If you go through anything that John's ever worked on, if it's a character he worked on before in any other book, that character will not be involved in Killing Zone. So no Stripesy, no Stargirl, none of those people.
He managed to get 10 or 12 issues out of Stargirl and Stripes.
Yeah, he did.
Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes.
Okay. Anything else for Geoff Johns?
No, that's it for Geoff. He's busy writing right now, and Doomsday Clock is kind of getting itself back on its kind of schedule. Although we're still talking about what's that in like in May. It'd be perfect time for Killing Zone to come out.
I noticed something with Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
We're in a period right now, at this moment that we're recording this, that nobody cares about Doomsday Clock. But the last issue came out a month ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Right about just before the time it comes out, while it comes out, and then like 2 weeks after it comes out, all of a sudden everybody has this interest in Doomsday Clock. And then after about 2 weeks, nobody cares anymore until the next issue comes out.
Yeah, well,
and because it's every 2 to 2.5 months, there's long stretches in between, but still at this point, people really care about it when that one issue comes out.
They're invested in it, and they go, oh, well, this issue was great. And they go, when's the next one? Oh, it'll be in a month and a half. Oh, okay.
No, I've noticed by my sales, I mean, the back issues that I've got and the reorders that I do, I'm reordering about 3 weeks after the issue comes out, whatever the current issue is. I have to do a reorder to get books back in, then they're on the shelf, and then they slowly disappear until the next one comes in, and then boom, they're back at it again.
They're back.
Okay.
It's a weird sales thing.
Bo.
Yes?
Wildstorm came back and did 2 books. 2 books. Wildstorm and Michael Cray. Michael Cray.
Deathblow, basically.
Okay, yeah, Deathblow. And now that they've done those books, they're so exhausted. They have to take some time.
Well, Michael Cray actually was.
They are so exhausted after cracking out 2 books.
2 whole books. Michael Cray actually got canceled.
I assumed it was a miniseries.
No. It was supposed to be a long-term thing. Basically, what Ellis says is we're taking a little break here. He also says he's laid out the script for the 3rd Wildstorm book because there's supposed to be 4, and he's laid out the Bible for the 4th book. So he's taking a break, and they'll come back with the other 2 Wildstorm books because I guess sales of the Wildstorm are steady enough to keep this thing going, right?
His sales were okay. I mean, like everything else, they slipped.
Yeah.
You know, they slipped. I couldn't tell you what the current issue is on Wildstorm.
I think it's like 16 or 17.
Yeah, 16 or 17. I mean, we're not in single digits yet, but we're rapidly approaching that. Yeah. But it didn't start off that way with the first couple issues. First couple issues, sold 5 or 6 times that, and it was a general, and it was a slower drop off.
Yeah.
It wasn't everyone bought the first issue, then this sucks, and there was a big drop off with 2. It was a slow, steady drop off, the thing, but it's been continuous, and I think part of it is because of the shipping.
Yeah.
And part of it also is it doesn't look like they had any plans for this universe outside of let's put out a book.
It's Warren Ellis's little corner of the world. They really don't interact at all much with the regular DC universe. And I think the problem with the Wildstorm is the art is decent, but not spectacular.
Yeah. Well, DC doesn't have any spectacular artists.
Yeah, that's true.
No, they don't. I mean, Bergamo, he is the closest I think that you would come to.
Yeah, he's unique looking.
Yeah.
They can get Mike Del Mundo to work on the book, one of Rod's favorite artists. No, he's hanging out more.
Okay, let's move over to Marvel. Logan. Oh, what's going on with Logan?
Well, he's back and he's dead.
Well, good for him.
Moonlight's Declan
So what, are they going to drag a dead body around every issue?
No. Moonlight's Declan Shaw is going to draw Return of Wolverine 2 through 4 and has designed a new costume for him, which pops up online. Steve McNiven is drawing issues 1 and issues 5. And Ed Brisson and Mike Henderson are doing the 12-issue limited series Dead Man Logan, which has him tying up loose ends. And so once that's over with, Old Man Logan will be gone.
Dead Man Logan, does that have Boston Brand in it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, Dead Man hangs out with him.
Boston Brand's?
Yeah,
it's a crossover? DC
yes, he
Marvel?
drives him around in a cab.
Kidding, really?
He's a cab driver.
Cool.
It's Logan hanging out in the circus.
Is he going to drive to Narpatha?
He's going to go everywhere. Namba Parbat and all those places.
No, Namba Parbat, wherever the hell
he's going to go everywhere.
Okay.
In the circus a lot. That's it.
That's it for Logan?
He's popular. You've seen the costume, right?
I'm assuming Old Man Logan is going to disappear by issue 50.
Old Man Logan's issue 50 is the last issue.
Yeah,
of Old
50
Man Logan.
last
Books
issue.
canceled.
I assume it's going up to 50.
But you can do Dead Man Logan, then there'll be the last time you see of the older version.
Yeah.
Logan, so.
Well, I mean, at some point they had to do something with Old Man Logan. You can't bring Logan back and have Old Man Logan around. I assume they'll fight at some point. What was that the Hitman who comes from the future into the past? It had Looper.
Yeah,
Looper. That was it.
Yeah, Bruce Willis.
They could do a Looper thing where Wolverine kills him in the future, and now he's created a time loop. He knows how he's going to die.
I know I'm going to die.
He's already done that. He already killed himself. His older self. I think it was in the Age of Ultron.
Well, there you go. It's set. It's already set. It's predetermined.
It's predetermined.
No, let me tell you what this is. This is a story that was supposed to have been done 30 years ago. Claremont always stated, and he said it again as recently as a couple weeks ago, that he wanted Wolverine to turn against the X-Men. He said that was the last one. And they said, no, you can't do this. I've already got the storyline.
He said, we don't care. He's making too much money. No.
No, he wasn't making money then. The book X-Men and Wolverine was slowly getting popular because he switched over to the dark brown and the costume change. And Claremont said, you know what? We need to have a traitor in the book. Well, let's get so-and-so. He said, no, Wolverine's going to be the traitor. And they said, no, we can't do it. Editor said, no, you can't do it. He said, no, Wolverine's the traitor because he's actually going to go into that berserker rage and actually kill an X-Men.
And in Old Man Logan, he's tricked into killing the X-Men.
Wasn't that Enemy of the State?
Yeah, kind of.
Was it essentially the Enemy of the State storyline?
Well, this was before Enemy of the State. So Claremont was I guess it was a clairvoyant.
So they've done it all. Well, clairvoyant. No, it was his idea. They decided not to do it, and then they did it later on. That's not clairvoyant.
The idea is still sitting in a room somewhere. Just because you have the idea and you mention it.
That's pulling the file cabinet out and pulling out old ideas.
There it is right there.
There are a bunch of pitches sitting in file cabinets in every comic company in the world of stuff we did not do. He came up with an idea for. It's like, and someone goes, I looked at that and I said, why don't we do this? And they go, well, yeah, wait a minute. Claremont said this a couple years ago. Let's do it.
Okay, moving on. We talked a few episodes back about Conan moving back over to Marvel from Dark Horse.
Yes.
Marvel's actually got a team put together.
Jason Aaron, what a shock. Jason Aaron doing Conan. I couldn't have seen that coming a mile away.
Did he do it at Dark Horse?
No, he did not do it at Dark Horse.
I thought he was one of the people who did it at Dark Horse.
Mahmoud Asur and Asad Ribic will be doing the covers, so it'll look like the initial Thor stuff. Conan the Barbarian, January 2019, and there are other Conan books coming. Aaron talked about it on Twitter, saying, I've been waiting for this my entire life. I get a chance to do Conan.
If you don't let Essen Ribic draw the interiors of it,
I'm assuming there'll be a couple issues in which he'll do the interiors.
He's the perfect artist for
But Asura, though, is a steady artist, so he might do what he did with the Thor books. This is a story that takes place in the past of Conan, and so we'll go back. We'll go back and forth.
I assume they're also doing Cull.
Cull is owned by that. Red Sonja apparently was not part of the deal.
No, Red Sonja I think is still over Dynamite.
Yeah,
Red Sonja's been there for a long time.
Yeah, still belongs to Dynamite.
They like those rights for some.
Well, I think it's basically going to be Conan. So I think you're going to get young Conan. I think you're going to get a King Conan book eventually.
But not Cull?
Not Cull. Well, not yet.
The last Cull that was done was that IDW Future Cull thing that they did.
Yeah, but not yet. But I'm assuming it's part of the licensing. Yeah, we'll do it. I'm quite sure they're like, I can do Cull too.
Yeah. Defenders.
Be back.
Why the hell? Talk about a book that nobody cares about when it comes out. Why would they go back to the well one more time with Defenders? This is like the fourth incarnation of the book in the last 8 or 9 years.
No, well, yeah. The last one was the Bendis one.
Previous to that was the one that McGuire did, wasn't it? The 6-issue one.
Yeah, it was a short.
Oh no, that was the female team.
Yeah, the
McGuire one was one before that.
Well, this isn't really a book. This is a series of one-shots.
Even more pointless.
Well,
okay.
And it's Hulk in the original Defenders, not the ones that we just saw. Hulk, Namor, Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange. The one-shots have a universal title of Best Defense. You're going to have people like Al Ewing and Simon DeMeo, Chip Zdarsky, Jerry Dugan. Jason Latour is going to do a Silver Surfer book all on his own. He's going to write it and he's going to draw it. And Al Ewing and Jill Bennett are going to do the book Defenders, the Best Defense.
I was going to say, do these books all link up together?
They all link up together. They basically you're going to.
So it's one big story. Except each issue is going to have a different character.
Yeah, you'll have 4 individual stories and they all hook up together for one thing because it's the Defenders.
Okay. The one they hook up, it'll be a one shot or a
one shot. They're all one shots. They're all one shots. You get 5 one shots. It could be a 5th week. Well, you got a couple of 5th week books months coming up. Daredevil Marvel Knights is coming. We talked before about Marvel Knights and the anniversary thing. Now we know exactly what it is. It's a 6-issue limited series, and the tagline is Matt Murdock has no idea who Daredevil is.
Why doesn't he know that?
Well, that's something we'll find out when we buy the book.
Oh, okay, thanks.
6 issues, different creative teams on each book. The cover was really solid. The cover's pretty striking. It's Matt Murdock walking down the street, surrounded by people, with his shirt open, and he's got the Daredevil logo, and he's got no sunglasses, and he's blind. He looks confused as hell, but yeah, he doesn't know who he is. And so
he's going to get beat up.
I would assume he's going to
get beat up. His identity's out in the open again.
I would assume he's going to get beat up.
Who's this Daredevil?
Who's this guy? And why is he? Hey, wait, he's wearing Daredevil's costume. And he goes, "Oh, you're Daredevil." He's going to go, "Who? Who's Daredevil? I don't know who it is."
When's this thing supposed to come out?
I think by the end of the year.
End of the year?
End of the year.
Okay. Last Marvel story is about Stan Lee. What's up with Stan?
A judge granted a restraining order barring Kia Morgan, who was the gatekeeper to Stan Lee.
Oh, I love that term, gatekeeper.
Well, that's what he was calling himself, actually.
I love that term, gatekeeper.
He was calling himself the gatekeeper. He can't contact Stan, his daughter, or his brother Larry Lieber.
I'm a gatekeeper.
I didn't even know Larry Lieber was still alive.
Man, you're right.
But yeah, he can't show up. He can't call him. He can't be on the same street. If Stan's at a restaurant with his family, he has to go to another restaurant.
Get on the other side of the street.
Get
on the other side of the street.
And if he doesn't, he'll be arrested. Because Stan's money is not protected from this guy who apparently was robbing him blind.
Well, good.
If he walked in here right now and Stan was sitting back here where we're sitting, he'd have to turn around and leave. Or you can go, officers. Hello.
Okay, moving on to indie news. Dark Horse has lost Buffy and Firefly. Now, I knew about Firefly.
Yeah, Firefly. We talked about Firefly.
We talked about Firefly last.
It went to boom. Joss Whedon this week said Fox took the license away from Dark Horse.
Can Fox do that? They don't exist anymore. Disney's going to own them.
I'm assuming this is one of the byproducts to the merger.
This is dotting I's and crossing T's. Well, no. Well, how can Firefly move over to Boom then? I mean, there had to be a contract there between Fox and Boom in order for them to do Firefly.
I believe if you go through the history of Boom, I believe Fox owns like a very small percentage of Boom. It's real small. Now, the Buffy thing is kind of weird, and he says, well, I don't have any control of this. I can't stop it. So what we're going to do with the Buffy book and Dark Horse is we're going to try to wrap things up, and that's where we're going to do the Dr. Horrible one-shot because that's owned by me. And then he said, well, what about Frey? He goes, well, Frey actually is owned by me as well. With this merger going on, I don't know what can happen. So chances are you might see a Buffy book over at Marvel.
I assume that this would include Angel and Spike and all the rest of the folks who have had their own books over at Dark Horse from the Buffyverse.
Yep. But he was a little shocked by it. He's like, I didn't expect that to happen.
They didn't let him know ahead of time?
Well, he found it. He's nice enough to let him know, but he goes, well, why? He said, well, it's complicated.
Okay, Mark Millar, Netflix. New book. An Image, I assume.
Yes, the deal is the books come out from Image. Magic Order, apparently, That is the highest-selling Millar World book of all time.
It's a good book. It's a good book.
Of all the books they've ever done, this is the top of the food chain. This book is sold better than Superior, Hit Girl, any of those books.
Whoa.
And so
better than the Kick-Ass line?
Even better than the Kick-Ass line. Everything they've ever done.
Dang.
Magic Order is the #1 seller of every Millar book, and that line's existed for about 10 years more.
Well, it isn't here because Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, when it was at Marvel, sold a lot more than I'm selling of Magic Order. Now, like as I've always said, when I talk about numbers, this is my little corner of the universe. Yeah. I'm not talking about the entire industry, but in my little corner of the universe, I mean, it's sold okay, it's sold well, but it hasn't sold nearly as well as Kick-Ass did back in the day when it was at Marvel, an Icon book.
The new book is from Mark Millar and Raphael Albuquerque. It's called Prodigy, about the world's smartest man who apparently goes out and solves crimes for the government when they can't handle it.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes. well, Sherlock Holmes apparently who kills people.
American Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, who kills people.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes meets Dexter.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Huck guys, and which is also optioned. And of course, this will be either a movie or a Netflix TV show because that's how the deal works.
I'm seeing more Netflix, and people go, "Oh, this is like Dexter," like you said.
Part of the problem with Netflix, and I'm not saying that Mark Millar's stuff is going to have this, it's really starting to turn into a sewer for bad ideas. I mean, anybody who can throw together an idea that runs 12 or 10 episodes winds up getting it on Netflix, and it just goes there and dies.
Or a movie, any movie. I mean, you do movies directly for that. The Billionaire Boys Club thing that Kevin Spacey did. You say it only made like $20 or $300. It wasn't meant to be in theaters. It was meant to be on Netflix and streaming services.
That's the one it was supposed to be on Netflix until they fired him.
Well, yeah, and it's still going to be on Netflix. It's on video on demand right now. It was in a theater for a week and made like $350. People, it didn't make any money because of Kevin Spacey. It was never intended to make any money. It was supposed to go video on demand right after that anyway. It had to run in theaters for a week, and it did. And nobody went, but they booked the theater and it's there.
Was it an Academy Awards thing?
No, it was
Academy Awards contention.
It was part of that was that, and part of that was that was financial. They had worked out while they were playing the film in the first place. It would get like a 1 week run at 3 or 4 theaters,
okay,
and then it would go directly on video, and it's on video right now.
Okay, so go search it out, and if it's on Netflix, look down near the bottom of the
Ansel Elgort
of your main screen.
Scroll
down to the bottom.
The lead from Baby Driver's in it, so just look up Ansel Elgort and it'll tell you, oh yeah, he's in this Billionaire Boys Club thing, which was a TV movie that NBC did starring Judd Nelson.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's based on a true story. Yeah. Joe Hunt and all the guys who end up killing people.
And with that, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go into media news. Every Sunday is super at Alternate Reality with our Super Sunday Sale. Each Sunday we pick a different character, family, or publisher, and we discount all of their comics and trade paperbacks 25% off all day long. What we pick for the sale is different each week, but each Sunday you'll save 25% off. And that's all day long, all day Sunday, only at Alternate Reality. And we're back. Bo.
Yes?
I heard some terrible news this week.
What?
Big Bang Theory's been canceled.
No.
Our long national nightmare is finally over.
Big Bang Theory was not canceled.
Well, it's got one more season and then it's over.
Because Jim Parsons...
And then it's canceled.
Because Jim Parsons said, we've done this for 12 years. Yes, I know you offered me $50 million for 2 years. We've done this for 12 years. Let's move on.
And I'm 45.
And I'm 45.
And he sure doesn't look 45, but he's 45.
And I'm tired of playing a guy. And so CBS went, okay, so the show will end in May of next year. But the show will be, because it went 12 years, it will be the longest running and most successful sitcom of all time.
Well, is it Warner's?
No, Chuck Lorre. Well, Warner's does own that.
I was reading a thing earlier in the week about this. Warner's makes more money off of just the Big Bang Theory running today in syndication than they do off of the show. They don't need to make any new shows.
No.
They're making more money off of syndication right now.
The Big Bang Theory is
off
on
of new episodes.
Somewhere
it's on
24 hours a day.
Different channels.
Yeah.
And the ratings for this thing have been slipping for the last, 2 years.
Still the #1 comedy and the #1 show on the CBS network.
Yeah, it is. But as far as
not the huge numbers that it was.
No, but as far as demographics go, the 18 to 49 demographic that's the most prized by them has been halved over the last 2 years or so with the show. And people just aren't watching it.
Well, they're not watching. Well, no, they're probably not watching the CBS, but they're watching it on syndication, or they're watching it on their phones, or they're watching it on their computers. All those numbers are thrown into that thing.
There's always been a certain amount of nerd shaming that goes on with that show.
They're nerds.
Yeah, but there's a certain amount of nerd shaming that is the core of that show, which is what makes that show what it is, that a lot of people watch it for, which I've never been very comfortable with, and I've never cared all that much for.
They're comfortable, geeky nerds.
I mean, they watch Big Bang Theory at home, and I'll watch it if it's on, because they're watching it at home. But I mean, I watch this thing and I go, this thing is, I don't think it's that funny to begin with, and not because I'm insulted by it or anything. I just don't think it's that funny. And the stuff that they're laughing at is stuff that I've seen here at the store for 20 years here, 40 years going back to the Comic Book Emporium. There's nothing new under the sun that I've seen on that show.
You are not the demographic for that show.
I understand that.
That would be like saying...
I'm not in the 18 to 49 demographic anymore.
That would be like saying bartenders didn't like Cheers. Well, yeah, because it was based in a bar, and I work in a bar, so I don't want to watch this.
This is a little more pointed than that. At Cheers, they didn't make fun of the drunks. In that show, they make fun of the nerds.
Well, so some nerds have to be made.
Let's do an all Star Trek episode where we make fun of Star Trek fans. It's like, okay, well, this is great. You know, it winds up being the #1 comedy. And we're all supposed to laugh along with it. And it's like, oh, it's going off the air? Good.
People are very upset that it's off the air.
Well, that's wonderful.
But that's why the box...
You know, those people never came in here and dropped a dime on buying anything.
Think of how much. Think of the money that Warner's going to be losing because they don't have T-shirts to advertise on that show.
They're making more money now this year, right this second, in syndication than they are off of the show being on CBS.
And that's why none of the actors on that show have to work again for the rest of their natural lives.
Well,
they're loaded.
Well, that's the other thing. There are 4 cast members on that show that make $100 million in that. No, $100,000.
Parsons makes the most.
They offered Parsons $50 million a year to keep it going. So and now this is basic salary. We're not talking about syndication profits and all that other stuff. They offered him $50 million for the next 2 years, and he said no, we've had our run.
No, but
let's move on.
But the next 3 cast members down are all making like $100,000.
Yeah, they're all loaded. They'll never have to work again.
Well, they're all loaded, and they're all pulling a lot of money out of that show.
Yeah.
Not that there's any sort of budget or anything. I mean, gee, you're costing us too much money. We can't remake the comic book store.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't have a lot of sets. It's like, okay, their apartment, the apartment across the street, the elevator, which still doesn't work after 12 years. Really? You couldn't fix the elevator in 12 years?
Oh, that's the joke. That's the in-joke. Yeah, the elevator doesn't work.
The houses,
you know what the joke is with
the
that?
Restaurants, all of that.
No, you know what the joke is with that? It'll work in the final episode.
Yeah.
That's enough of my whining about the Big Bang Theory. Bo, you have a story about other people whining.
Yeah, a lot of people whining.
Not me, but other people whining. Now, what are they whining about?
ABC announced this week a pilot order for a reboot of Bewitched using a biracial couple.
Oh, yeah, Bewitched. We talked about this earlier in the week. You couldn't figure out what the hell Bewitched was.
No. Bewitched was a stupid comedy.
I never said it wasn't. I never said it wasn't.
Yeah.
Now, the idea...
We got into a discussion about this earlier in the week.
You were talking about the concept of mixed marriages.
It's a mixed marriage.
And I had to break it to you, and you were into this too. Most people didn't think about that. You just thought it was a show about goofy witches.
And I told you it was a metaphor, which in 1964, 1965, if you want to do a show about mixed marriages, that's the metaphor you use, because you are not going to do a show about mixed marriages. You're doing it as a metaphor, and that's what Bewitched was. It was a metaphor for mixed marriages.
Now, here's a history.
Was it a stupid sitcom? Of course it was.
It was a wacky sitcom.
Of course it was. But if you take like a big sponge, all 7, 8, whatever the hell it was, seasons of that show.
Did it go 7?
I don't know. It went on forever.
No, I think it went like 3 or 4.
No. Dick York was on it for at least 3.
Oh, okay.
And then you had Dick Sargent on for at least 2 or 3 more.
They all blended together.
Well, yeah, it did. Tabitha went from not even existing to being 5 by the time the thing went off the air.
Because they had a kid. They had another kid.
But if you took all 7 seasons, you squeezed them all down like a sponge to the nub of what I'm talking about.
You had one idea.
No, well, the mixed marriage idea was as prevalent as any metaphor they had in Star Trek, in any single Star Trek episode. Now, I'm talking about the difference between an episode in Star Trek as opposed to 7 seasons of a show. So it's a pretty thin metaphor, but still, it's there, and they worked it every week.
They tried their best.
And now they're turning that metaphor on its head and actually doing it as a mixed marriage.
Well, in the shows from the Blackish crew to Kenya Barrett. Now, by the way, this isn't a show; it's a pilot.
Oh, it's just a pilot?
Yes.
It's not even a show?
No,
it's a pilot.
No, they announced they're making of the pilot. It's not even a whole show.
Well, who are they doing the pilot for? Is this ABC?
ABC.
Oh, ABC. Okay.
The same people who have the Indian remake of The Greatest American Hero, which no one seems to be complaining about, and ABC announced that last year. Oh, that's happening? Oh, okay.
Because Greatest American Hero, people that come into this store know Greatest American Hero.
Yeah, they do.
Everybody knows Bewitched. Okay, and that's the difference.
You know what?
Bewitched is a much larger center of gravity in the cultural zeitgeist.
Following is larger than any following in the known universe.
Yeah, you're full of crap.
Yeah.
As much as some of us might like Greatest American Hero,
does have,
I'm not going to sit
gray
here.
hair.
I'm
he
not
does
going
have a line.
Great hair.
I am not going to sit here and say for a hot second that thing has as big an impact as Bewitched had.
But yes, it's just a pilot.
The problem you've got with this thing, it was originally a mixed marriage, and now you're actually doing it as a mixed marriage.
Yeah, like you said.
40, 50 years later, going back to the original concept, the problem you have is because you're dancing through metaphors like this, and because you're making the metaphors less metaphoric and more realistic, you're going to get into all sorts of trouble with the messages you're sending with
you know what? If the show gets picked up, you know what I want? I want Cousin Arthur to be straight.
Yeah,
Uncle Arthur.
No,
Uncle Arthur to be
Uncle Arthur.
I want to be straight.
Not going to be straight.
And Endora and
it's 21st
and the mother
century.
to be gay.
It's not,
you know,
she was gay anyway.
You're recasting that thing. You got some big shoes to fill. I mean, whatever you might think about that show, Elizabeth Montgomery. No, Agnes Moorehead. Agnes Moorehead was one of the great actresses of the 20th century. She started off her career with Orson Welles and Mercury Radio Theater, wound up in legitimate theater, with the Mercury Theater, on Broadway, then went to the movies with Welles. She was in Citizen Kane, Magnificent Ambersons, and then she went on to do dozens and dozens of movies after. She was and
Twilight Zone, and
also not just Twilight Zone, but then also stage too. When she took the job as Endora, she was sleepwalking her way through that role, and her sleepwalking through that is miles above, any other actor grinding away trying to find some meaning in the script. I mean, she's just an incredibly great actress, and you can watch any episode of Bewitched, and she's only in 5 minutes of every episode. She's not in there much, but when she's in there, she takes over that show until she's gone. Try filling that role, because you're going to remake Bewitched. You got to find a female actress with that gravitas to play Endora in order to make that thing fly.
Angela Bassett.
Yeah, okay.
Not happening. She's not happening.
Two different things.
Different channel.
Okay, moving on. You've got one final story about everybody's favorite topic, which just bores me silly at this point. James Gunn.
Guardians 3 is on indefinite hold.
Oh my God, what a big story.
Which means you're not going to start Guardians 3 till 2020.
Great.
Because Chris Pratt's schedule only had like 3 months. And that would be January, February, and March. And he will be available to the following January. Now, the only good part of this is they're talking to Taika Waititi, the guy who did Thor Ragnarok. He could be coming in to take over. But by the time we get around to that point, Dave Bautista will be annoying Disney so much, it won't be worth it.
Okay, someone needs to tell Dave Bautista that there's other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy they could roll in to take his place. The Guardians of the Galaxy is a large canvas where they can find other people.
Quite happy if they let him go from his contract.
Fine,
because it's not as if he's having trouble finding work.
No,
fine.
He's doing right.
Fine. There are many other C-level characters that were in Guardians of the Galaxy that somebody can take and plug into his place.
So you're gonna introduce a new character in Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Sure, why not?
To replace Drax?
Sure, why not? Well, if he's not going to show up, you're going to have to.
Well, no, he said, I'm contractually obligated to do the film. I will do the film.
Okay, fine.
But don't expect me to be real I'm not going to do any press.
He's disgruntled. He's a disgruntled employee.
Well, la-di-da. Okay, he's not the center of that universe.
He's very disgruntled.
Dave Bautista is a small cog in a small part of the Marvel Universe machine. Now, he's an important cog, but you know what? He's not an irreplaceable cog. Okay? You have a harder time replacing Star-Lord than you do him.
Well,
Pratt, you have to worry about.
And as I said before, by the time December rolls around, when you've only got this window, and this is how you set up all the rest of the cosmic films, Disney's going to cave. I don't give a crap what they say.
Well, which is the reason why we're even doing this story, because we've talked about
because everyone announced it.
Who gives a damn? They're going to shoot this film at the end of the year. Who cares?
You just don't like the film.
The last 5 minutes have been a total waste of time because you know as well as I do that they're going to shoot this thing at the end of the year.
Well, we know that, but the people at Disney are going, no, we're not, and everyone's going, yes, you are.
Yeah,
no, we're not. Yes, you are.
Yes, they are. Oh, hush up.
That was James Gunn calling you to be really upset.
And with that, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to do a pinch of wrestling news.
James Gunn.
Right after this. Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Most people don't know this, but I got my start in comics retail on February 20th, 1978, when I became the store manager of the Comic Book Emporium. 16 years later, I opened Alternate Reality on August 20th, 1994. Like Superman's penchant for double L's, it seems the 20th has always been an important part of my life. I respect that heritage, which is why we have a Founders Day sale on the 20th of each month here at the store. Every 20th, stop by and you'll save 20% off all of your purchases all day long, only at Alternate Reality. And we're back. Bo.
Yes?
What has Colt Cabana and CM Punk gotten into? Why are they mad at each other? Why don't these two, who were like blood brothers once upon a time,
they were friends.
Why is it now that they're ready to like rip each other's throats out?
Well, we thought they were friends. They showed up at the trial together. They were cool then. Then all of a sudden the bill came in, and CM Punk had told Cabana.
What bill?
For the court case.
Oh.
Very expensive.
What does Colt Cabana have to do?
The reason why Chris Amon sued him is because CM Punk popped up on Colt Cabana's podcast and released a whole story about the staph infection and not being cleared.
Yeah.
And so that's what started the whole case. And that's why he was involved in the lawsuit that he was suing them for.
Okay, didn't Punk win that lawsuit?
Punk won the lawsuit. But, however, the lawyers have to be paid.
Okay. Didn't he get some money out of the lawsuit?
No, he got no money out of the lawsuit.
What was the point behind the lawsuit then if you're not going to get money out of it?
And apparently Punk had sent Cabana a text saying that I will cover half of your legal fees. The case is over with, and now all of a sudden Punk, through lawyers, have told Cabana, I'm not paying for anything.
I read the text
You're
message.
all on the hook.
He said,
this is how much it cost. Well,
he said the text message said, and I quote.
Actually, the text is from 2006, so they were fighting back then.
He said, I've been charged $513,200 and some dollars. You're going to pay half of it. Yeah. And seeing as though the fact that you shut your mouth off on there, I feel as though I don't need to cover your...
I don't need to cover your expenses, and I'm disappointed with you, and I've long since given up on you doing the right thing.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why is Colt Cabana hooked up with this in the first place? Because this was CM Punk's lawsuit.
Because Punk,
why was he have to pay for anything?
Punk popped up on Cabana's podcast, and that's when he talked about the whole situation.
Okay.
And so Chris Amon sued and said, well, you talked about it on a podcast that everyone listened to.
So he sued both of them.
I'm suing both of you because if you hadn't talked about it, no one would have said anything. Now, Cabana is suing, and apparently Cabana's got a text saying, I'm supposed to pay 100% of your bill. I must be paying anything. So he's suing him for $200,000, which is what he owes, and $1 million in damages.
Oh, God. You know what? This has not been a good year for Punk at all.
Punk is having a crappy year. The lawsuit, the fact that his UFC career is basically over with. He's sitting in Rosemont with AJ. And
his dog Larry Tower.
And his dogs, and he's got nowhere to go.
Okay, well, you're going to need some money if these lawsuits, go through. And
you said he was living off of what? The pay-per-view money, right?
He didn't spend most of his money. You saw what he wore. You saw his clothing.
Yeah, I know.
He lives a low-impact life.
He's very frugal. Where they were going out to eat and stuff, where everybody else was going to restaurants and stuff, Punk was sitting back there eating with the stagehands and everything. Yeah, okay. And he basically brought his own lunch. He said he was doing the Owen Hart thing. Remember, Owen Hart kept saying over and over how all these guys were staying at these fancy hotels. He said, why don't we go to a cheap hotel, share a room, save money?
Well, he learned from Mick Foley. Mick Foley never spent money.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you're going to save $100 a night on a hotel while you're being sued for $200,000. You're not. That's like saying I got $300 worth of damages on my car. It's a good thing I didn't buy that $2 air freshener because that's $2 I saved off of $200.
I would make the national assumption that Punk and AJ together are probably worth about $3 or $4 million. But if you lose the lawsuit, then you're losing $1.2 million. And AJ's book is out, but it ain't selling that well.
Well, I think at some point you're going to have to go back to pro wrestling because what other job skills is he going to have? He's going to run a comic book store?
Everyone.
He did write for Marvel, but
he hasn't written the comic in a while. Everyone, no matter what they say and no matter what they do, always going back to vets.
My thing is that AJ left too soon.
Well, she left because he was gone, and they were giving her crap.
I know. I saw the matches they were putting in and the stuff they was doing to her. Yeah. I was like, this is crap. They're just picking on her.
And in her book, she is quite clear with the fact, she's bipolar. She admits it. So they're living up in Rosemont, somewhere close to the horizon, with the dogs in the house.
And he still doesn't talk to anybody over at...
No, talks to no one at all.
Man.
Connected with the WWE, I'm not talking to you.
He was best friends with
Chris Jericho.
Not only Chris Jericho, but several others,
Corey
too.
Graves,
And Kofi, him and Kofi was...
He and Kofi, and they don't talk to each other at all.
Man.
That's sad. That's sad. They used to be such friends.
They used to be.
You and Punk used to be good friends, Rod. I mean, the two of you were brothers. The two of you were brothers.
Aware of each other's presence. You weren't friends.
No,
you were brothers behind the counter.
You guys hung out together?
No, there was just a couple of meetings.
You didn't go out for a couple of Pepsis?
No,
because he doesn't drink anything other than Pepsi.
I know, but no, he the store that he used to work at frequently, he was known as the Wolverine guy because he even had mutton chops there. Yeah. And they kept saying this guy's intense, so tread lightly. He doesn't necessarily get your sense of humor. And usually, what he would do sit in the meetings, he would sit there like this.
For the folks at home who can't see you,
Stone face, people, stone face. You know what stone face is? Charles Bronson, okay, that's stone face. That was him basically. No expression. He would sit there like that. You very rarely get a smile out of him. One person would say the joke where everybody would laugh, and he just sit there stone face. I even did a Michael Jackson joke that went over like crazy. He just sat there stone face.
Bo,
yes.
Tell me something. Ronda Rousey actually started something. Ronda Rousey left UFC and she came over to the WWE.
Yes.
And now...
Matt Riddle.
Exactly. Has she started something?
Well, Matt Riddle worked for UFC. We talked about Riddle when we were doing the Video Outhouse. Matt Riddle left UFC because Matt Riddle has a propensity for smoking weed.
Does he?
Yeah, and he would get suspended, and so that's why he was around. So Matt Riddle said, okay, I can't work in UFC. I'm going to become a professional wrestler. Matt Riddle picks up on stuff just as fast as Kurt Angle did. Matt Riddle turned himself into a guy who every match that I've ever seen and read about is a 4 or 5 star match.
Oh, man.
He worked in a lot of independent places, and everyone kept going, he's going to sign with WWE. He's going to sign with WWE. Well, at TakeOver Brooklyn 4, I didn't know there was even 4, he was in the front row. He signed. He also dropped a whole bunch of indie dates. And so he could have went to New Japan. Matt Riddle's in NXT. Matt Riddle is probably going to be down there for maybe a couple months because there really isn't much Riddle needs to learn down there.
You really need to put Riddle through NXT before you bring him up to the big show?
I think that's kind of a deal that they work out. You pop up.
I mean, Ronda Rousey didn't do that. She came right to the big show.
No, but Ronda...
Now, obviously, she's a bigger name, but still, Riddle's not a small name.
But Ronda Rousey did all her training for wrestling for about 6 to 8 months down there at the Performance Center.
Well, yeah, but Riddle, you already said that Riddle's been doing that already.
Riddle was working in independent places. He's popping up. He popped up at Brooklyn. He'll be working out there. Will he be there long? I doubt it. Will he be there by the time WrestleMania comes up next year? I would doubt that very seriously. I think he'll be one of the guys who's there for a couple months and he moves right up.
Or he may go for Royal Rumble.
Yeah, Riddle can pop up with the Royal Rumble. Because when you get to the Royal Rumble, there are a lot of guys in the NXT right now. Aleister Black really has no reason to stay down there. Neither does Ricochet. Neither does anybody in the Undisputed Era. All those guys are ready to move up already when they got there. They're just there to keep the shows rolling. And Riddle's a guy who's got a short-term thing. And yes, it is a trend because Cain Velasquez has popped up, UFC fighter at the Performance Center. Travis Brown, Ronda Rousey's husband, trains at the Performance Center. And Daniel Cormier, who Brock Lesnar is going to fight, has already said, I'm going to be a pro wrestler when I'm done. So yes, work at UFC, fight.
Get tired of getting punched in the head.
Get tired of getting punched. Getting tired of all the extra training and go work for Vince. And as far as Rousey's concerned, she signed a 2-year contract? She's already said, no, I'm staying for a lot longer than 2 years. I'm going to extend my contract right now. I'm ready to hang around. He says, I thought I would like it. I love it.
They need to give her better competition.
Well,
she's going to flip as a heel at some point.
The match she had at SummerSlam, I was actually rooting for Alexa Bliss because Alexa Bliss should not have been in that. She was so outmatched to Rousey up in that ring, and that Rousey act like she slept in that ring. Like she basically grew up in that ring.
But think of Alexa Bliss. If you looked at Alexa Bliss in NXT before she came up to the main roster, did you think she'd be a champion? She was the lesser of all the girls down there. She was a manager for 6 to 8 months.
not to downgrade the talent in the women's division, because they got a lot of good talent in the women's division.
And there's more talent coming.
Ronda Rousey came in a level above almost all of them.
She's up above.
So what they're going to do with her, I'm not sure. She is sort of in the same position that China was in once upon a time, where you basically are above the women's division, but you really don't work in the men's division. So what the hell are we going to do with you? Ronda Rousey at this point has to slum in order to have matches. The best competition I think that she would have right now would probably be Charlotte Flair.
Yeah. And you would assume she would, when they do the roster flip, she'll go over to SmackDown.
But
she's not going to SmackDown.
No, she will end up going to SmackDown because everyone ends up bouncing back and forth. Also, Ronda Rousey has a lot of movies to do, so Ronda will be taking a couple months off every once in a while.
Well, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, if they do put them together, that'll be the brawler versus the technical wrestler, which can be a very interesting match if they sell it right.
Yeah, there are people on the roster right now that would match up quite well with her, and eventually she's going to end up wrestling Neidhart because it just makes sense. And the two of them could work a match in their sleep together.
Okay, that's going to do it for Wrestling News. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to say goodbye. You know, folks, there really is no other store that has as many sales as Alternate Reality. Beyond our signature sale of 15% off all new comics, we also have specialized sales peppered throughout the week, month, and year. For example, did you know that every Thursday is Ladies' Day at the store? That's right, ladies. Stop by the store and you'll save 20% off all of your purchases all day long. Ladies from 8 to 80 get a 20% discount on everything all day, every Thursday, only at Alternate Reality. And we're back. Gentlemen, any last closing comments you want to make before we get out of here?
You guys were talking about this because, well, you noticed it on Facebook. You didn't notice it on Facebook. The show that's popping up in Navy Pier in October.
Yeah, no, I've had people asking me.
Yeah, that is a big deal show. There are going to be two major comic shows in October. There's going to be the shows taking place at Navy Pier, and also
that cake thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the New York, the New York show's coming up there too. So for like 2 weekends, you've got these two huge comic book movie shows. A lot of wrestlers are coming here. Roman Reigns is coming here.
I saw that. I was like, whoa.
Roman Reigns is coming here. Chris Evans is coming here. Tom Hiddleston's coming here for this show. This is Navy Pier for 3 days, which means you're in the middle of downtown in a very large area. C2E2 really needs to start getting nervous because this is going to be huge.
Yeah, but it's October. The reason why C2 works good is because
October is perfect. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's at Navy Pier. People know where people may not want to go out to McCormick Place. Navy Pier. I'm downtown. I'm going to a restaurant. I can go to this Navy Pier.
I can walk to Navy Pier.
I can walk to Navy Pier.
I can walk to Navy Pier.
I can leave Navy Pier. I can go to a restaurant, and you think that the people coming in for the show are going, if I'm at Navy Pier, I'm not that far from downtown. And so when the show's over with, you're sitting downtown at Gibson's going, hey, isn't it Dave Bautista? Hey, isn't it Tom Hiddleston? Isn't it Chris Pratt? Why are they all sitting together? Hey, what's going on? But no, this is going to be a big deal con.
You know what the weather's going to be like? It's going to be almost, not quite, but almost exactly what it's like for C2E2.
Yeah.
C2E2 is usually in late March, and this is going to be in mid-October.
Yeah. And
the weather is going to be almost the same. It's going to be cool but not cold.
And they're both on the lakefront.
And you won't have to worry about snow. In March you got to worry about snow, but you won't have to worry about snow in October.
And this show will be easier to get to.
I know. That's what I said. It's actually walking distance from my job. I can just walk down to it.
Like I said, I can go. I'm going to go see a movie at River East 21 and go, I think I'll go to the con. I just walk from River East right to the con because it's right there. Navy Pier's right there. It's a perfect spot. And you can go to Bubblegum Shrimp back here after and have some food.
Okay, so we're all looking forward to that con.
Well, I won't be here for that con, so you guys have to go.
Oh, you're going to Vegas?
Yeah, that's my Vegas weekend.
Yeah, great. Okay. And with that, we're going to say goodbye. Folks, be sure to stop off at myalternatereality.com, where you can find out more about Bo's news. You can find JR and Vito's reviews. You can find shipping. You can find just about everything else you want to know about alternate reality. You can also find this podcast there, as well as my shipping videos. Hey, where do I find a podcast at? Go to myalternatereality.com. I put the links up there every single week. Whenever I post a show, link goes on the website. So you can find it there, and along with a bunch of other platforms.
Where can I find the website?
On the internet. Well, where the hell do you think it would be?
The World Wide Web.
Some people think it'll be beamed into their head.
Where you know where you can find the internet? In a box in the back of my truck. Where do you think it would be? Yes, you find the internet in a box in the back of my truck. So just look in the back of my truck. There's a box there, and you open it up, and there's the internet.
He's got a big sign in the back of his truck saying "Alternate Reality," right?
Yeah, Alternate Reality.
And flying monkeys.
So, myalternatereality.com. And until next time, this is Comic Book Man, Bo.
So long, boys and girls. And remember, keep hydrated. Summer's still going on.
Oh, you pulled that out of your butt. So, Ron, I've given you an extra 30 seconds to think of something wonderful. Say goodbye to everyone.
Hello, this is James Gunn.
No, it's
not James Gunn.
Say goodbye.
Sorry. Goodbye. Goodbye, boys and girls.
And this is me saying, until next time, folks, bye! Thanks a lot for listening. If you enjoyed this show, please like and share it with all your friends. We value your feedback, so drop us a question, comment, show idea, or complaint either at aircomics@msn.com or, if provided, in the comments section down below on this platform. The opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of the individuals and not necessarily those of Alternate Reality Incorporated. This show is, as always, coming to you from the Alternate Reality Comic Shop, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie, serving Chicago comics fandom since 1994.
Elvis has left the building.